Hello everyone and welcome to this eyebrow tutorial. I am so excited to have the amazing Steve Supple with me. I met Steve at an event we did with his good friend Christy recently, and we were meant to be doing a little tutorial with a group of people, and we had to cancel it because of COVID. So we're all stuck in our own homes, and Steve has kindly offered to still give his amazing eyebrow tips online. So thank you, Steve, so much for doing this with me.
No problem at all.
And I just want to start, your story is so amazing. Can you just tell us a bit about you and how you became the eyebrow sculptor extraordinaire?
Yeah, sure. My previous career was the entertainment. I left New Zealand and went to live in London, and I was in the entertainment industry for 20 years. And then I kind of, in that process, started fiddling around, doing things for people backstage. And when I went to leave the industry, I thought I'd teach or choreograph. And then someone said to me, well, why don't you do what you've been doing for us? And in my Kiwi naivety, I was like, is that a job? Can you get paid for it? Do you do it? You know, what is it? And yeah, beauty therapy. So I kind of stumbled into it, just bowled into London College of Beauty Therapy and said, hi, I think I want to do this. They were kind of laughing at me. Again, naivety, I think, just opened doors. And next thing, I was flying through the course and out in the big wide world of beauty. So I've been in the industry about 21 years now.
Wow.
And then through a chain of events, I've ended up specializing in brows and eyes, which I love. So I've been over here in Sydney now, or sorry, I moved to Sydney from London, and I've been in Australia for 12 years now. So Brows by Steve has been running for 12 years, and Sydney kind of welcomed me with open arms. I think I was one of the first commercially to bring threading over to Sydney from London. Not a lot of people knew about it when I first started, so that also helped attract a lot of people to something new. And being a guy in the industry, it also brought a lot more confidence to guys who needed a little bit of help with their John Howard brows. So
Yes, I know. We were just talking about my dad's brows are like John Howard, and I give him a bit of a trim for him. And Steve's got some tips for those guys too that don't want to add colour. But I've been very vulnerable, very trusting of Steve today. And as you can see, I have no brows on. So Steve has pointed out, you know, my brows just don't grow far enough. They're very straight, they're very thin. So he is going to use himself as a model for people who've got better brows like he does. I don't even need threading or shaping. I might use the tweezer, like the odd little stray hair I get, but that's about it. So he is going to train me on how to work with what I've got. And hopefully some of you who've got more brows can use Steve as your model.
And this
So
is something that everybody can do at home while
totally.
they're in isolation, while they can't get to their beautician, because obviously we're all in confinement.
Yes, so you take it away, Steve. He's got all of our beautiful Arbonne products. So the Shape It Up Brow Pencil, which comes in 3 colours, light, medium and dark. He's also using our eyebrow gels, which is light to medium or medium to dark. And also the clear gel, which is a good one for the men. And the Prime and Proper eyelid primer. So I am your model. You go for it and I'm going to follow you, Steve.
No problem at all. So one of the first things I will always do, and I recommend that people do, is measure their brows so that they can aesthetically see where you want them to start and finish. It doesn't necessarily mean that nature lets your brow start and finish, or stress, age, medication can also affect brow growth and make it fall out. So initially what I would do is get a pencil or a fine stick, and you go from the inside of your nose and through the inside of your eye, and where it crosses your brow is generally where you want your brow to start. And so you just give yourself a little indication line, just lightly with the pencil. Then the outside corner, you go from the outside of the nose, the outside of the eye, and where it crosses your brow bone is aesthetically where you want your brow to come out to. Now, not often does everybody's brow come out to that end area, but that's why we have pencils to help enhance and fill in gaps. Everybody's brows, even if you've got the most perfect brow, has to lose hairs when it sheds to replace and get new ones. So there is often times where even with a perfect brow, it needs a little bit of penciling or a little bit of shading just to hide those gaps. Now we know where we want our brow to start and we know where we want it to finish. Probably the most important thing, first of all, when you're colouring your brows or finding a shape in your brow is your bottom line. It's not the top line. So it's starting from your starting point and using a pencil and lightly running it through the ends of the hairs so that you bring out that straight line from the beginning of your brow right through to your arch. That's the line. You can then check to see if there's anything underneath, and I've got one. So I'm going to whip that out to help you shape. You take that hair out so that you've got that nice line running all the way from the very beginning of your brow up to the arch of your brow. So that's giving you a guideline as to if there's anything you need to correct in regards to shaping or cleaning up. And that's a good way of knowing not to go too far into your brow if you're doing them from home and you don't have your beautician there to help you. Once you've done that line, you're also going to follow the line on the inside of the tail of your brow. This is basically giving you the line or the arch of your brow. For me then, or for anyone, I would, especially in the inside here where you might be lighter, and like me, I've got a few hairs that have shed, just gently fleck as if you're sketching in little eyebrow hair lines, and then take your brush on the end of the pencil and just blend it upwards into the direction of the shape of your brow, and then follow the tail downwards. Once you've done that, you can just check to see if you need to fill in any gaps. I tend not to put anything on my clients at the very beginning of their brow hair because you don't want it too structured. It can look too painted on. I know that's something that's come into fashion recently, and if that's the look you want for, then go for it and put more shading in there. But I tend to have it lighter through the beginning of the brow, and then putting depth of colour into the top of the brow as you go to your arch, and then following it also down the back of the tail of the brow, and just sketching in. You don't want anything too hard. You don't want too much colour. Less is more with brows. You can always add, but the worst case scenario is you've done too much and you have to take it away.
How am I doing on that one? And you mentioned with the arch, I can put the stick through the pupil to find where I want the highest point?
Yes, so if you wanted to find your highest point, generally from the outside of the corner of the nose through the center of your eye, and you'll see where your arch is. But as we age, all of us, men and women, we want more lift because everything unfortunately starts to head south. So I would aim for the outside of the nose and the outside or the edge of your iris, just to give you a little bit more of a guideline as to where you can go. But the growth of your hairs will always tell you as well how far you can go. If you've got no growth whatsoever, there's no point painting colour into an area that looks too severe, too drastic, too drag queeny, really.
Nobody wants to look like that.
No,
Now,
we don't.
Steve,
We want
I'm
the
thinking,
secret to be that your brows are enhanced, but no one can tell.
yes, I mean, that's why some people, like my partner Frank this morning, when I said, look at me, I've got no brows on, and he goes, yeah, they really are thin, aren't they? He didn't know. And I'm not one of these girls who wakes up and puts my makeup on. But yeah, when I had makeup on without my brows, it was really noticeable. So that's medium. Would you use medium for someone with my colouring?
So with you, I would use medium to start with, but because also you've got quite fine tail of your brow, I would then take the next shade up and possibly just sketch from your arch and down into your tail with just a little bit more depth. So you're blending two colors. And so you're going from a lighter shade and then graduating up to the arch and graduating just to give you that tail, because that'll give you a complete shape and that'll help with the lift.
Great.
Now, if you find that you've put too much color in or you feel that it's too dark, then just take your brush on the end and then just blend it. Yep. Blend it in so that it's softening it down. You can soften it right back down to literally hardly any color if you'd want to make it, you know, just a shade or just to fill in the gaps. And that's how you can blend the two colors in as well.
Mm-hmm. I'm feeling half human.
So now you've got your base color in. and you've blended that in. You find, go to your brow cream.
Prime and proper.
So your brow cream obviously has got some tint or some color in it. And that's where you can effectively put a little bit of color through the first hairs, just to give them more emphasis. And then just gently, again, fleck it through the hairs. It will help hold the hairs in shape as well.
Yeah,
so
it does. It's really stiff.
Yeah, so if you haven't had a chance, if you're not confident, and I don't think many people should be, about trimming their brows, that's something that you really need two eyes looking down on your brow to do. So that's why it's normally in the hands of the beautician. So by using your tint, that will hold those brows in place.
That is so amazing. That's a life-changing thing for me, because before I met Steve, I just used the pencil. I thought this was only for people who had bushy brows with plenty of hair to colour. But now that I've penciled them in, it's amazing how many blonde, non-existent hairs I do have there. So when I use this, it does make them look fuller.
Exactly. Yes, we've got, a lot of us have got fair or blonde hairs or grey or white hairs, and they need a little bit of assistance with colour, and it will make your brows look fuller. A fuller brow will also give you a more youthful appearance. Unfortunately, a very skinny brow, and some people unfortunately have that naturally, can look quite severe, or it can age you. So to try and make your brow look fuller will give you a softer look.
Yeah, I think I look angry with this straight, thin one. And with that one, it's more, opens my eyes and looks a bit happier.
And you'll always have a good brow and a naughty brow. You'll always have one that you prefer, because the two halves of our body are never identical. Most women understand that better than most men. So it's about trying to get your naughty brow to look as good as your good brow.
Yes. All right.
So we've used the pencil, we've softened that in, we've used a little bit of tint and held those hairs in place. So the next product that I would go for is your primer. And that's a great color. It's a very natural color. And this would be done for women, if they've already got their makeup on, even if they've done shading on their eyes. This will go on afterwards. And you run this color directly on the skin underneath the brow, just very lightly sketching it on, and then down the brow bone. And then I would take the softness and the warmth of your hand and just blend it into the skin tones, blend it in to the makeup that you're using, so that you don't see any start and finish. You just see the softness. That will give you a lift underneath the brow, and it will also then give you a contrast between your color and shape and the skin underneath before you get to your shading of your eye and your socket.
Yeah, I love that. Before I met Steve, I used this all over my lid, and I still do, to help my eyeshadow hold better, and it gives the eyeshadow more pop of color. And also when you've got that sort of sunken eye like I do, it stops the eyeshadow settling in the creases. But I've never used it up here before, and I love how it gives that definition.
Yes, without looking too drawn, it still looks quite natural. Yeah. Another little secret as well, to help you give more of a wake-up effect, is just use it on the inside corner of your eye, where light would naturally catch, and then just blend that in, and that'll give you a lift before the bridge of your nose and open up your eye a bit better as well. So that's a good little trick, especially if you're feeling a little bit tired.
Use that one. Awesome.
So if there was somebody that didn't want to use the tint that we used before with the brush, you can use the eyebrow gel, which is clear, and that just again helps to bring the hairs into place. And that's something that guys who have wayward brows can use. It just helps to keep them in place, and it will pretty much stay in all day unless you rub or brush it out.
Yep, love it.
Again, what we were saying is you don't want it to look as though you've made your brow up too much. So if you feel like you've gone a little bit heavy, always just use a soft bristle brow brush. That's very hard to say. And just soften the color down so that it becomes more natural. So for me, I'm just doing that now. But if I look closely and show you, my brow doesn't look too drawn on, even as a guy. If if I stand back, it just looks more defined and it
Mm.
looks slightly thicker, which is great. I could walk out, if I'd done the other eyebrow, no one would really know that I've done anything.
No, it's true.
And that's the secret to lifting your look without looking too made up.
Yeah.
Obviously, in the evening for women, if you want to do heavier because you're using more eye makeup and more contour, then you can go for it. But on a natural or everyday basis, you just want to look enhanced rather than too done.
Yeah. Okay, I'm evening myself up. Bit of light and a bit of dark on top. Oh, these tips are so good, Steve. You've got no idea. And I'm sure there's a lot of people stuck indoors, so anxious that they can't go and see their brow specialist. And at least if they can make the best of what they have in this time,
Yes.
imagine if it's 6 months, Steve. How will we cope?
There's going to be some pretty
online?
hairy brows. So especially that first thing that we did with the pencil of sketching your baseline in, that's how you can tidy your brows up without going too wayward or going too much. Less is always more. I always say to my clients, if you've got the hair and the tweezers and you're not sure, let go. Have a look about 3 minutes later and you'll think you're glad that you didn't take it out.
Yeah.
But you can see how quickly we did that. Obviously, I've only done one brow, but it shouldn't be a lot of time because you don't want to look too heavy or too made up. So as I say, less is more. And if you've spent too much time, you know you've gone too heavy.
Yeah. No, that's great. And this is in my computer screen. It will be even easier if I had a mirror. But I'm just in love with this Prime and Proper, using it along there. Like I used to use a light eyeshadow, but that can sometimes get in the hair.
Yep.
And it doesn't create such a nice line.
Yes.
When
It's really soft. It's a soft color that even now, you know, even with my complexion, it doesn't show where it starts and finishes. I used the Arbonne gel pads this morning as well to give that smoother appearance under the eye. I could even have used a little bit more of the primer and just dabbed it and blended it into the skin if you've got dark patches or if you inherently got dark bags or dark circles under your eyes. A lot of people do, especially if they've got olive skin. So that's something that you can do to lift and lighten without looking made up again. It's like a light concealer.
Yep. Oh, I love it. And I love that you're loving our eye gel masks. He was like my model when I did my event, and he didn't want to take them off. I said, okay, it's been 10 minutes, Steve. He said, no, these are staying on.
Even in isolation, if you're having a rubbish day and you're not feeling so great about yourself, you can whack them on, and then at least when you walk past a mirror, you don't feel so bad.
It's so true. Steve, I have loved getting to know you, and I'm so grateful for your tips on brows. Everyone is just going to love hearing these. And we are all going to be in our video conferences doing online exercising with amazing brows, thanks to you. So,
oh, fantastic. That's what I love to hear. I hope everyone stays safe and keeps well.
Thanks, Steve. Bye.
Take care. Bye.